Thank you very much, Jess. It's a good morning to you. It's a good morning to everyone watching as we get set for the BNT V8s that are on the grid right now, including the team that played a part in helping Fabian Coulthard's Shell V-Power Racing FGX Falcon make it to the grid. Talk more about that later when we get going, but this will be an exciting race held over 16 laps. And Jason Bargwanna and Nick Ross had an epic fight yesterday in these tricky conditions. Ross and Bargwanna on the front row for this one. I was actually lucky enough to get up and stand in the grandstands for the opening Central Muscle Car Masters race today and just watch and listen to some beautiful V8 engines at this historic racetrack, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. Now back in the commentary box ready to see these guys go to work. This is the Premier Touring Car category here, and Andy Jones. This should be a lot of fun, particularly this battle between Bargwanna and Heimgartner, who'll be coming out of this one from P3. He'll be pretty disappointed after not really getting to run yesterday.
Yeah, very excited to see how this is going to play out. Chad, pretty confident there'll be no fogging issues for Andre Heimgartner today. It's a beautiful day here at sunny Pukekohe. We haven't had this weather so far, very mild. So Andre will be very excited to get into that car today and see if he can't move forward a little bit from his P3 starting position.
So off they go to be Nick Ross on pole position in the Nissan Altima. We have Nissan, Toyota, Holden all inside those top few spots. Ford out there as well. BMW going through frame right now. So a bunch of different marques and brands to watch out for. We have 3 separate classes involved as well. The Class 1 cars, including Jason Bargwanna and those newer model TLX chassis, back down to Class 2, which is the older model TL cars, which we originally saw running here back in 2013. That was the majority of the field. Also have an invitational class for Class 3 cars, as well as those BMWs. So a few races within the one race to watch out for. It'll be the Total Lubricants Nissan Altima on pole. Jason Bargwanna, who is the man who helped facilitate the roof that went across to Fabian Coulthard's car. Incredible story, we'll touch on that soon. Andre Heimgartner, very quick, stepping into this Tony Richards Motorsport team this weekend. Justin Ashwell had his hands fairly busy yesterday trying to keep the digger car on track. Matty Podjerski starting alongside him is a rookie. Keep an eye out for those very fast BMWs. They're starting a little bit further down the pack, so they'll be ripping through this field. Nigel Carl and Shane Whitley out the back, they have been fast in their Class 3 battle this weekend. So, like we were saying, the FGX Falcon of Fabian Coulthard obviously went on its lead yesterday, and they needed to source a roof from someone. Jason Bargwanna, in that Toyota Camry last year, he was racing a Ford FG, and it had ProDrive body panels on it. Now that he's made the move across to Toyota, amazingly, those body panels are sitting in a factory 90 minutes away. No one else had a roof. Jason Bargwanna says, hey, I know a guy, I can hook you up. And lo and behold, at 4:30 a.m. this morning, car 12 was fixed and ready to go with their help.
And there'll be people at home saying, why couldn't you just go down to the local Ford dealer to pick one up? They are a motorsport-specific roof. It is slightly shorter than the standard one that goes on your road car. So trying to source one of those is not as easy as just heading into Pukekohe and seeing the dealer and saying, could we please have a roof for our race car?
Well, here we go. We're set for a race start. Race 2. The BNT V8's rolling start to the green flag. Nick Ross trying to shove Bargwanna wide on the approach to the SsangYong sweeper. Bargwanna wants to hang tough. Great battle for the lead. Give it to Nick Ross. So determined to stick in there next to Jason Bargwanna. Knows Bargs has the speed, wants to lead this race, and now Heimgartner will buy into the argument. 3-car fight for the lead. Down the inside.
Not only does Bargs have the speed, but he has the hunger. He's not getting any younger in his age, Bargs, but it's not showing on the racetrack. He is determined to lead this race. I took a big, deep breath at that move that he was trying to hold on the outside at turn 1. He was compromised at the turn in at 2, and I was sure he was going to tag the back of Nick Ross, but he didn't. And these guys will race on. Pretty awesome opening lap in the dry conditions.
Cold tyres. This is a good stoush to kick off the day in the BNT V8s. Celebrating 10 years of BNT's sponsorship in this category. Nick Ross celebrating 15 years racing in this category, and he's using all that experience to keep Jason Bargwanna behind him. Look at the Camry bonnet flapping around at over 200 kilometres per hour. Ross, Bargwanna, Heimgartner, and then Lance Hughes in P4.
I've seen that bonnet flapping around even in the wet weather races that we've had this weekend, and that's not going to be helping the aero on that car. What it's doing is, as he's driving down the straight, air pockets are getting in under there and causing some drag. We're seeing a little bit of rear tyre smoke coming out the back of Heimgartner.
Now that's where the car went into the fence in qualifying. I had a close look at it earlier today. There's quite a bit of race tape being used to keep that there.
That looks like a new incident though. I feel like that's happened down at the turn 2, 3, 4 complex on that opening lap, because when we saw that car in the rain yesterday, the rear bar was fine on the back of it. So we'll have a bit of a close look here. See if we can't pick up why the rear bar on Andre's car has quite a hefty ding in it.
No one near him at the Ssangyong sweeper. Right on board with Nick Ross. What a battle for the lead this was. Waiting, line it up.
That's a commitment from Jason Bargwanna here to hang around the outside. Look at that, the rear just stepped out a little bit, and that's why that gap widened, and he tried to hang through turn 2. Good job to Nick Ross also. Presence of mind to know that Bargs was hanging in there and give him racing room.
Good battle. And has been the theme this weekend. Got some parts out there on the track. Now, you've been quite brave in having a crack at some of these parts this weekend. You're my spare parts man, Andy.
I was waiting until we got to a zoomed-in shot to see whether or not that was an anti-roll bar or a tail shaft. And the zoomed-in shot there, I can confirm that looks like a tail shaft has departed its way out of the drivetrain of one of these cars. So there we go. It's come from car 9.
Oh, how's the heads-up thinking in the background to avoid it? So McCarrison loses drive.
So that's the tail shaft that connects the gearbox through to the rear diff housing in these cars, which will keep the rear wheels spinning. So McCarrison, no more drive for him, parking it up in the pit lane.
And it'll also give us a Vodafone safety car period, because that's a fairly hefty chunk of metal sitting on the racetrack, which obviously spells drama. So Vodafone safety car, pace the field. There's the bonnet we're talking about on Jason Bargwanna's car.
That's a great shot. For me, if we have a look at those 4 bonnet pins that are holding that bonnet down, you can see there are 2 on the outer edges of the front there, but the 2 that are up towards the center of the bonnet are a bit odd placed for me, and maybe it's something to do with the shape of the Toyota, but normally when we have a look at our own Aussie supercars, you'll notice that the 4 bonnet pins are all the way along that leading edge, and that stops that bonnet flapping and keeps the leading edge further down.
Kind of like the Nissan.
Exactly as you can see on Nick Ross's Nissan. So let's have a look at this here. You can see there are, on the extreme outer side, the 2 bonnet pins are a long way up the bonnet, and there's only 2 there. So that air getting in causes a pocket, causes drag, and certainly will not be helping the straight line speed in that Toyota.
So check out the Nissan closely here. You can see the 4 black bonnet clips.
Yeah, and this is the example I was talking about. They're all along that leading edge, so just holds that bonnet a lot more secure in that front edge, so the air can't get under there and try and flap around like it is on Barks' Toyota.
Oh, and the plot thickens here. Unfortunately for Brock Timperley, there's been a scrape out there. He's cut the left front tyre.
No onboard air jacks going on for these cars. So
I wonder if this is, sorry to interrupt, Danny, I wonder if he's run over the drive shaft.
Absolutely, yeah, you'd almost connect those 2, wouldn't you? But this is, these cars are 2 steps behind the current generation, so no onboard air jacks. That's why we can see the old school trolley jack going under the side of the car there. Let's have a look at this and see if we can't confirm.
His very last car in frame right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Ran straight over the top of it, clean bowled, as they'd say with the Aussie.
Now the leader's pulled over. It's all happening today, Andy. No,
he's doing what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm standing here waving my hands in the air going, Nick Ross, what's happened?
We've got parts lying around everywhere.
So that looks like the rear diffuser off the back bumper bar has departed ways. So that's a piece of carbon shroud that helps with some aero. But I don't know what...
and we've gone back to green flag conditions. So it'll almost immediately lead to another safety car.
That shroud is not going to be a terminal issue for that car. So there must be more to it here, unless something's come from the drivetrain of that car also and then knocked the shroud off as it's departed the car. See if we can't find a replay there somewhere.
So they got the race going again, but immediately had to pull them back together because, unfortunately, they were setting up for the restart. And then all of a sudden, I reckon the shrouds come because of the concertina effect of everyone slowing up. So maybe there was a little rear ender somewhere back in the pack.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two separate incidents going on here. There it is.
So Nick Ross has lost drive there, or engine power, and he slowed dramatically. This will tell the story.
Okay, so
just went quiet there so that we could hear if Nick Ross actually spoke to his team, and he didn't. So a couple of things I was trying to take note of there. Did he have a warning come up on the dash to say that the car might have been out of fuel? Because it's interesting, the engine was still running, and every time he got on the throttle there for me, he was able to drive a little bit, but it was almost like the engine was starved. It was an ECU issue or something, but he's back up and going, so that is odd.
did he lose a lap?
You know I'm brave, mate, to make a call, but I don't think I could call on this one. It's very weird. Maybe Cam down in the lane has a little bit more information for us.
So I'm just getting word, actually still getting word on the fly at the moment, guys. What happened was the engine's still idling, all the power was on, but he wasn't revving. They've just power cycled the car and away he's gone again. So an electrical little issue there crept in with Nick Ross.
Classic Control-Alt-Delete job. And he has kept the lead lap, importantly, here. So we're about to be treated to the Nick Ross show. Actually sounds like the kind of thing you tune into on a Saturday night.
So the important part here is that Nick Ross has not gone down a lap. He will be able to rejoin at the back of this queue. We know that he's got plenty of pace in that car. Is he going to be able to make his way forward? Now, this is the recycling that we talk about. So it's not necessarily, there is no Control-Alt-Delete options within this car. But when we talk about the power cycle, you just shut the whole thing down, count to 5 seconds, turn the main power back on, wait 3 seconds, wait for the mains to all fire up, then turn the ignition on and see if it will restart. It's a bit of a hope and a pray, but it's worked for Nick Ross on this occasion.
Hopefully it keeps working as Jason Bargliner now brings us back to the restart. And Tony Richards 1-2 with the Camrys leading the way. Racing once again. It's been a quirky race. Watch out for Nick Ross. Here he comes in the back of the frame. The Nissan Altima is coming off the long run-up.
So he didn't actually catch the back of the train there, which I was surprised about. I thought he would for sure, but he's got his eyes on. Plenty of wheel work going on.
You do not want to be in this guy's way right now. He is going to sire through this pack.
Huge speed difference, though, between this current generation car and the old car. So he does need to be patient here. He can't be too aggressive that he gets caught up with some of these slower guys. And that's what you can hear there, just feathering that throttle.
Look at this.
Not all the way flat to his braking marker, making sure that when he makes a move, he's decisive with his decision.
Oh, it's happening again. It's happened again.
But this time, all power has gone out. You see there that the dash went out before he turned the mains off. And we've got a warning going on at the bottom of that dash. My eyesight's good, but I can't read it. No, this looks very terminal. And he's not happy, Nick Ross, in there. You can see just how agitated he is. He wants to get on with it and keep racing. Lucky he didn't get hit there by one of the guys that he just passed coming out of turn 6.
He passed 4 cars down the backstretch and then same issue. So he's pushing on with it.
He's decided, it was interesting, I thought he might have taken the option there to go into the pit lane given how close he was to the pit entry, but decided to press on for another lap.
It's a difficult lead lap as well.
And it's a difficult decision to make as a driver. You know, you're primed for the weekend, you want to get out there, you want to go racing. You have a little issue like that where it refires back up, you think, okay, we're back on. But he's definitely not on here, so...
This is why he didn't catch the pack earlier as well, I'd suggest. Remember when you said, oh, I thought he was going to catch the pack at the train before the safety car? I reckon this has happened to him halfway around, and now he's called it quits.
And that's a wise decision. He needs to get off the racing line because, you know, it makes it difficult for the cars that are going to catch the back of him here that are all trying to have a race. Oh, and he's got some power, doesn't have some power. Disappointing for Nick Ross.
Still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well. And he's still on the lead lap as well.
You'll never have a race car driver that'll pull into the pit lane on their own accord, guarantee it. They want to get out there, they're programmed to go racing. And that's a perfect example of it for Nick Ross just there.
Here's a couple of very different cars squaring off. Holden Commodore and the BMW, which is running in the Invitational class. Very serious looking race car, and the BMW at the moment looks to have got the job done. Yes, Lance Hughes has to give it up. Oh no, and he spins on the exit in front of the second of the Beamers. That was a wild moment. Now, can he get this car moving? The grass is very wet here at the Pukekohe Park Raceway. Cameron, it's all happening.
Yeah, I was following up on Nick Ross as well when all that action unfolded, guys. He's got a new ECU in, an M-Tron, which has been recently reconfigured. That's the only thing they can put it down to for the electrical issues on that car.
He just flashed through frame again as well. So he's back on the track. Wonder if he's going to be headed your way this time. Here's the BMW. Just overcooking it. So slippery off the racetrack. Very lucky.
Very lucky to thread between the two cars and not actually get wiped out. He'd done a brilliant job to get the job done on Lance Hughes. Had a cheeky little look here through turn 1, but decided to back out of that. You can see the understeer in the car because he was compromised from his turn-in point. But he got the job done down at turn 5 and 6. Was maybe a bit busy high-fiving himself in the car and ran out of road and around he went. And he's still there.
Yeah. I don't think it's because he's bogged. I think maybe he's lost the power.
So we've got yellows in the background, and the safety car board was looking like it was going to be deployed, and it has. So again, we're going to see the safety car come back out. We'll go back to Cam's work on that ECU that was put into Nick Ross's car. Hoping Cam can go and do a bit more work for us down there. So different style of ECU. I'm curious to know whether it was the same box, but same style of ECU, but just a different box, or two different management systems that have been changed and they've just got an old program in there that's not talking to the car properly. So a couple of things could have gone on. Electrical dramas, in terms of race car issues, are the worst because it's a bit like a ball of string. You've just got to start at one end and work your way all the way through it to diagnose the problem, and it can be a whole multitude of issues. It's literally a little bit of pot luck. So we're seeing one of the engineers there from Nick Ross's team plug in. He'll put a different program or a different engine map into that car, maybe a more standard one, and see if that can't fix it.
If for some reason like the throttle sticks or anything, just fucking hit your power off. That's all.
Okay, apologies for that. Obviously they didn't know we were taking it, but taking the audio. Off we go. Let's see if this has sorted the problem out. Now, what they'll be trying to do is make sure that they do a little bit of testing, fix the problem for the next round.
So far, so good. The software update has been complete, and we'll hopefully get him back onto the back of the pack, but now he has lost laps, so unfortunately, in terms of competition, we won't be seeing too much more of him on the timing screens. And that beautiful M3 is still stuck on the grass. Get the feeling the Vodafone safety car is going to cut some laps today. It's been an unusual race. We haven't been able to find our rhythm just yet.
You've got me working, Andy Jones. I jumped in there and was really digging on that ECU. They've had a look at the car now. It's actually a fly-by-wire throttle problem, which was not working. It was a failure that kept going. It'd start up again when they cycled it, but then the failure kept happening. So I don't know what they've done. Maybe they've rehooked up the sensor, but they wouldn't tell me any more than it's actually a fly-by-wire issue on the throttle.
Okay, well, that tells the story. So not your traditional cable that's connected directly from the throttle into the engine, which operates how much fuel is going in and keeps the engine going. So there's a little pot or a little sensor down on the throttle, and if that gets the incorrect reading, it won't actually squirt fuel into the engine and keep it firing. So that makes a little bit more sense rather than it being a straight out ECU mapping problem. What'll be the hard thing to diagnose here is usually those problems don't fix themselves from plugging a computer in. You actually have to change the sensor. So a couple of laps under his belt, and we'll see how he progresses there, Nick Ross.
So the Nugent car now is moving. Andrew Nugent was running P3 or fighting for third when that spin happened This very cool Neil Allport Motorsports Dynon USA M3, powered by a 4.6 litre, 575 horsepower engine, and this crowd is building, and they had a very good time yesterday. I reckon Adelaide 500, Bathurst 1000, and Pukekohe, the loudest crowds, the most vocal crowds that we go to anywhere on the calendar. They were up on their feet cheering. It helped that we had Kiwis on the podium, but man, they were into it yesterday.
Not only up on their feet cheering, Chad, but just the commitment level from the people that come and love our sport here, because let's be honest, it wasn't the best day in terms of weather, and everyone was happy to sit up there under their umbrellas, and they were cheering loudly regardless of the weather conditions. So hats off to everybody here in New Zealand. It brings this really great vibe to this event.
SVG might have gotten a little bit of trouble with the team for the massive burnout, but he did say at the press conference yesterday he wanted to send a big thank you to the fans. He put that show on for the fans yesterday, and I think they enjoyed it. That was a monstrous burnout. Had a bit of Summernats about it. It was very, very impressive. Knocking a set of tyres off it on a Saturday. They had to do a fair bit of work to that car to get it ready. We should get some racing towards the end of this. Guana, Heimgartner, Hughes. Andre Heimgartner, we just want to see some green flag laps here.
I had a quick chat with Roland Dane this morning about SVG's burnouts. Probably highly unlikely that Roland's going to lend him that car to take to Summernats for that event this year.
How about this story for Tony Richards Motorsport? They're sitting 1-2 right now. We talk about the flap of the butterfly's wing. You know, Jason Bargwanna decides to go back from running the Ford to running a Toyota this year, which leads to these Ford parts sitting in a workshop 90 minutes away. And then a Penske car rolls over, and all of a sudden those parts are bolted onto the DJRT Penske car for a race here at Pukekohe. Incredible scenario. And they had to do quite a lot of work to the roof or the turret of that car to get it ready. They actually went and got a wrecked Ford Falcon roof as well and cut parts off it to essentially stitch it together and get it ready to be out there on the track. Amazing story, and very, very cool that local team has played a part in keeping the Shell V-Power boys on track today. Went down and had a close look to car 12, and it's just hanging in there at the moment, but so far so good. Now Chris Pither tells me that that official on the left has been here since he can remember. He's loving it out there. He's been controlling traffic at pit exit all weekend. Should be the last lap behind the safety car here. Jason Bargwanna will get us back to racing. Hopefully we'll get some green flag laps in. Probably be a one-lap sprint here as the time certain will tick over. Pretty much on the green flag. Let's do this. Race 2. It'll be a one-lap dash.
What's Andre got? What's he got in the tank
yet, have we?
No, we haven't.
Fortunately, they blocked up the side breather vents, which was meant to put air onto the windscreen yesterday. Meant that he had zero visibility.
It looks like that rear bar has actually popped itself back out. So a little bit of air in underneath that. As he's gone down the straight on a couple of the laps, has actually pushed it off the tyre. So no concerns there with the left rear.
Well, the BMW looks pretty racy. Just shoves Lance Hughes out the way and says, I'll take P3 before the restart.
That was a good move. Within supercars, you cannot overlap before you get to the start line, but E&T V8s, as soon as the leader goes, it's on.
The Invitational class are having at it at the moment. Opportunistic, the BMW swings into P3.
And Heimgartner's going with Bargs.
You'll have pretty much two opportunities. One will be at the end of the back straight, one will be at the hairpin. Can Andre Heimgartner fight for the lead of this race with his teammate?
A little bit too far back there. Looked a lot closer when they left turn 4. This is where the real battle is.
Yeah, Lance Hughes wants P3 back. I don't think he's overly impressed with having his pocket picked like that before the restart. Comes the hairpin. Heimgartner not close enough.
Griffin doesn't want to give it up, though, does he? Very defensive into the hairpin.
Also, Jack Smith in that fight, sitting in P5. Reigning V8 Touring Car champion now. Picked that one up a week ago at Sydney Motorsport Park. Last corner. Jason Bargwanna will go 2 for 2. The two-time champion. Bit of good karma for hooking up the Shell V-Power Racing team. He wins the race from his teammate in a 1-2. And we've got one across the grass in the background. This is not going to end well. just gets the fence, and that could have been much, much worse. Doesn't get to the finish line, though. The rookie.
Yet.
Oh, we've got a grandstand finish. He's got to get moving. He's 10 metres short. Just put it in reverse, son. How did this one happen?
Just massive amount of understeer at the apex. Couldn't gather it up. Got out on the marbles. And from that point, he was just a passenger. We've seen it many, many times where guys get out onto that outside grass, try and overcorrect the car, catch the slide, and the rear continues to just rotate on him. Very lucky to get through that gap. How many times have we said that in this race? Or how many times have I said that in this race?
There could have been some big ones.
Wow.
Thankfully, we've got away with it. 17-year-old from Inglewood going for a ride. The ex-Brad Lauder TL Ford Falcon, whack against the fence. Two-time national karting champion making the step up to touring cars. And I don't think he ever made it to the finish line. Finished just 10 metres shy. Frustration. It was an unusual but entertaining BNT V8 Race 2 with Jason Bargwanna doubling up. Andre Heimgartner completing the Tony Richards Motorsport 1-2. Congratulations to the two Toyota Camrys. Great drive, Matt Griffin. Was it legal, I wonder, on the restart? It was a hell of a move either way. Robert Wallace, the ex-drag racer outside the top 10 from Bronson Porter, and Liam McDonald getting the win in Class 2.